Hey, what's going on, everyone? I'm Hawks, and today we're going to be making a Sonic tier list. So, as of late, I have noticed that mainly because of the movies and Sonic Frontiers coming out, a lot of new people are getting into Sonic and are viewing the series from the outside and wanting to play some of the games. They like the movies, and they are like, I love Sonic, I love these movies. So yeah, this list is going to be a big part of me making this list is to help new players kind of figure out which games are good and which games are bad, because yeah, there's a lot of not so good ones in here, but there's also a lot of masterpieces in this backlog of Sonic games. So yeah, this will also be a good chance for seasoned players to see my opinions on the series. I'm gonna try to be as objective as possible when making this, because I don't want to let my opinions get in the way. I want to make as close to an objective tier list as we can get here. And as you can see, I've already kind of laid some things out. I'm not going to be ranking any of the racing games. I played a lot of them, but actually I played all of them, but I'm not going to be ranking those. And I'm not going to be ranking any Sonic Boom games because technically they're considered spin-offs, and also I have not played any of them, and I've also heard that some of them are pretty bad. Sonic Chronicles, an RPG, I don't really know how to rank that, plus I haven't played it before. Sonic Battle, yeah, this is another spin-off. And also, I have not played Sonic Generations 3DS, Sonic Rush Adventure, Sonic Unleashed Mobile, Shadow the Hedgehog, Sonic Bravos 1 or 2, but I have played all the rest of these games on this list. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. I'm going to be going in these release orders, so let's start with Sonic 1. So this game is the one that started it all, and it did a lot of things right, but it also kind of had a lot of shortcomings. The speed in this game is a little bit lower than what you'd expect from a Sonic game. Like, there's a lot of focus on platforming. It kind of breaks up the pace of the game for a lot of people. A lot of people aren't a big fan of this one. I like it. I grew up on this one. I really like it a lot, but I can acknowledge that it does have its flaws. So I think a B tier is a solid placement for that. Not a amazing game, but not a bad game either. It's a good game. And so let's see, what else do we have here? We got Sonic 2, the fan favorite. See, I love this game just as much as everyone else, but I don't think it's as good as people say it is objectively. Like, if we're looking at this from an objective standpoint. So yeah, I think it's a solid A tier. Not to disregard all the things this game did. It took what Sonic 1 did and made it more fast, more fluid. The momentum-based platforming feels better than ever with the spin dash. It also added co-op, and it completely perfected the Sonic formula in terms of, well, not perfected, but it brought it up to the standard of quality that we sort of expect from a lot of modern games today. So, like, for instance, Sonic 1 had a lot of pacing issues. Sonic 2 feels very fun and replayable to this day. So, highly recommend. That is a very good game, but not as good as some of these other games on this list. And in case you are wondering, SS and S tier and A tier are all going to be like my highly recommend games for new players. And if you haven't checked it out, if you are a veteran player, I highly recommend those as well. Those are all my recommended ones. B is like, play it. It's a pretty solid game. You can play it if you like the series. C is like, eh. D is like, don't play it unless you like. There's some redeeming qualities in those games, but there are a lot of flaws with them, so play if you think the redeeming qualities are enough to make it fun. And then F is like, don't play unless you want to meme around. But yeah, so let's see, next up we got Sonic 3. So Sonic 1 introduced the formula, Sonic 2 made it more polished and refined, and Sonic 3, it takes it to the next level. I'm sorry, I gotta give this game an SS. Like, this is probably the best you can get with Sonic, like, period, the end. I know a lot of people prefer Sonic 2 and say that's their favorite out of the classic games, but I think Sonic 3 has a lot better balance in terms of his game. Like I said that Sonic 2 is more balanced than Sonic 1, Sonic 3 is even more balanced than Sonic 2. So it took the pacing and made it even better, because Sonic 2 has some questionable level design choices towards the end of the game, but the rest was fine. Sonic 3, all the levels are good. Overall, Sonic 3 is the quintessential classic Sonic game in my opinion, and I recommend to every single person who is a fan of momentum platforming gameplay. So like if you love anyone, just like if you love momentum based platformers, Sonic 3 in my opinion is the GOAT of momentum based platformers. In my opinion, it will forever and always be the best momentum based platformer. So next up on this list we have, oh, I forgot Sonic CD, sorry about that. That technically came out before Sonic 3. Where is Sonic CD on this list? Here it is. I think Sonic CD is also B tier. I know a lot of people will be like, oh, SS, this game is great, but I think the level design kind of is questionable. Like, instead of using momentum to control yourself, a lot of it is just stage gimmicks, like springs and just stuff that takes the movement away from you. It feels like the game is taking control away from you, which in my opinion is not a good thing that you want from a momentum-based platformer like this. So, especially since speed doesn't really feel like a reward from the momentum, because like most of the other Sonic games, because in Sonic CD's case, there's just so many random gimmicks that will just spring you everywhere, and it's just not the best. But there are a lot of redeeming elements in this game. The time travel is cool. There's a lot of replay value in terms of just the level size. They're very big and they're very vertical. But I just think Sonic 3 took the best aspects of all these other games, like took the exploration from Sonic CD and took the solid momentum-based platforming from Sonic 2 and 1 and turned it and refined it. So that's why I'm putting Sonic CD in B tier, but still a good game nonetheless. And so now we got next release order. I guess we could, I think, let's see here. So Sonic Blast is in here for some reason, but none of the other Game Gear games are, so I guess I'm just not going to rank the Game Gear games. If I did rank it, it'd probably be like F tier. This game isn't very good, but and Sonic R I forgot to put in this list. Again, it's a racing game, so I don't want to rank it. Next up, what do we have here? So we've gone through all the classic games. So, oh yes, now we got Adventure 1. Oh no, 3D Blast. Where's 3D Blast? Here it is. I think 3D Blast is better than people give it credit for. I don't think it's the best game ever made or anything, but it's pretty good. If you like collectathons, this is fun. It doesn't really feel like a Sonic game. I think that's why a lot of people don't like it. But if you like collectathons, this game is fun. It's basically like, what if Sonic was an isometric collectathon? It's a very interesting game. There's nothing quite like it in the series, so if that sounds interesting to you, give it a try. If you like collectathons like me, you'll probably have a good time with it. Let's see. So next up, we got the true 3D Sonic game, not Sonic 3D Blast, which was an isometric game that looked 3D, but it was really used sprites and stuff. But no, next we got Sonic Adventure. I think this game is a solid S tier. I think that this game, while it does have its shortcomings, I think what it exceeds at is just being a fun, enjoyable game. I think there is nothing quite like it in terms of just being able to just, like, control a character in a 3D space. I think that Sonic feels so much fun to control. All the characters do, except for really maybe Amy and Big, but I don't think Amy is as bad as people give her credit for. She's not the best part of the game, but you don't even really need to play through her if you don't want, because the nice part of this game is it gives you the option. Oop, I accidentally bumped my mic. Hopefully that didn't sound weird. But yeah, you don't really have to play through all the characters if you want. You get the true ending, like you get the culmination of all the character stories ending if you play through them all, and you get the Supersonic boss fight at the end, but you don't have to. So like what I like to do is I just like to go in through Sonic story over and over and over again, and but even if I am not doing that, I still like to play all the other character stories because they're still fun too for me. I mean, Big the Cat is whatever. If you figure out how the fishing works, you can get it done in like 10 minutes. His story isn't that long. It's not fun, but it's so short and a very small part of the game that doesn't really affect the major, like, part of the game, in my opinion. But yeah, this game, for new players, it might seem a little bit janky and dated. Like, there are points where oh, also, do not play the DX port. Play the Dreamcast version or the Steam version with the Dreamcast conversion mod, because the Dreamcast version is way less buggy than the DX one. The DX one is way more glitchy, and so it's way more janky than the original ones. So, highly recommend. But yeah, Sonic Adventure 2. Ooh, this game is the fan favorite, a lot of people's favorite game of all time. Well, I really like this game too. I think it's kind of A tier, just because for some reason it almost feels like a step back from Adventure 1. Like, they made it feel more streamlined in terms of they took away the hub worlds and made it just a level, like a string of levels you just play through. And in that sense, it feels more, I guess, like, streamlined, but at the same time, the game itself just feels way worse to play. Like, Sonic and Shadow just control way worse than Sonic did in Sonic Adventure 1, in my opinion, just because they mapped everything to one button, and it feels really weird. And also, he doesn't feel as fast as he did in the first one, and the levels are more Crash Bandicoot style, like hallway levels, which isn't a bad thing, but I do miss the more open, shortcut oriented, like, big levels in Sonic Adventure 1, reminiscent of the classic era of Sonic games. But yeah, Sonic Adventure 2, it isn't a bad game by any means. I just feel like it's a little bit worse than Adventure 1. It has padding, like really bad padding, in terms of the Tails and Eggman and Knuckles and Rouge levels. They're just worse than their Adventure 1 counterparts for some reason, like the mech and treasure hunting stages. That's what I'm referring to when I mention those characters. They're just so, ugh. Like, they take up a big portion of the game, and if you're not used to the weirdness of those play styles, it's just, you're not gonna have a good time. Like, some of those Knuckles and Rouge levels, those treasure hunting levels, remember my first playthrough. Now I've gotten a lot faster, but when I played it for the first time, like 30 minutes easily. Some of those levels taking a long time. It's ridiculous. And then, so yeah, it has its flaws, but I think it makes up for it in just being a fun game. The story is amazing. I can't talk about Adventure 2 without mentioning its story. It's so good. Probably my favorite Sonic story. Shadow's an amazing character. They've done him dirty in the new games, but yeah, I think that story alone, I think that's what makes this game special for a lot of people. Definitely an amazing game. Gameplay was pretty solid. While I don't like it as much as Adventure 1, still pretty solid, and a definitely worthwhile entry to the series, despite its shortcomings. Okay, next up in this list, Sonic Heroes. I'm gonna say solid C tier. I know a lot of people love this game, but Sonic Heroes, it's a game that, while I know a lot of people love it, and I don't wanna, if you like this game, I'm good for you. Like, I'm not trying to diss this game or anything, but like, I grew up with this game too. This was actually my first 3D Sonic game, so it's definitely a nostalgic one for me, but I just think objectively it's just not very, it has a lot of flaws. It's got a lot of strengths, but it's very glitchy. Like, this is kind of when the Sonic games started to show their rush, in my opinion, because Sonic Adventure 1 and 2, despite their kind of like old game jank at times, felt very polished. And Sonic Heroes, it's just like, you could tell it was kind of rushed, and that is my main issue with the game. It's not fun to control for a lot of parts of the game. The special stages don't work half the time, and parts of the game just don't work. Like, it's just, but if you can get past that, it's a decent, fun time. So yeah, that's Sonic Heroes. So next, I will go with Sonic 06, since that one came out next. This is a hard game to rank, because compared to to one other game in particular I'm thinking about later on that's gonna come up, it's definitely like a whole tier above that one. But like, I don't it's not a good game, but it's also kind of funny because of how bad it is. I think I'm gonna have to give it D tier, just because I'm gonna give it like an F plus tier. Okay, so Sonic 06. This game could have been good, and we see that with Project 06, which is a fan remake everyone should check out, by the way. It's native to PC. He redid the game. One person redid the game and made it good. And I've always believed in this game. It has so much potential. It just was so rushed, even more so than Sonic Heroes, like to the extreme. Probably one of the most rushed games to ever exist. Like, it had a lot of promising content, but they couldn't finish it in time, and so it's just like one of the glitchiest, most frustrating games to play ever. If you can get past the frustration, it's a funny glitchy game, but yeah, like, I love goofing off in this game. It's kind of funny how much glitches they couldn't patch out because the game was so rushed. But yeah, so it's play Project 06 instead. It's a way better version of the game, and they basically fix everything. Like, it's still in development, so there's still some stuff that needs to be ironed out, but like, for the most part, it's just a good Sonic 06. So play that instead of playing the retail version, because if this was like Project 06, it would probably be like A or S tier. Like, that game is really good. But yeah, as of right now, it's going to F plus tier. Not as bad as one of the ones I'm going to get to later, but still bad. I also forgot some, so I'm going to go back. Sorry about that. I think Knuckles Chaotix, it's going to go in C tier. It's just kind of the momentum just doesn't feel as good as the other classic games, and the level design is just kind of weird. I don't know how to describe it. There's like barely any enemies anywhere in some of the levels, and it feels almost like a playground for the ring mechanic where you're like tied to another character. I think it's fun. I put it in C tier because I feel like it's Sonic Heroes, where it has its moments, but it also has some shortcomings. But not a bad game, but just kind of a mid game. Okay, let's see. I also forgot the advanced games. These are hard ones to rank for me because I'm not the biggest fan, but I definitely appreciate the quality. I think all of them are kind of like, you can kind of like order them yourself, like based on which one you like the best. I think I'll just put them in the same, like that's why I put them in release order, because I don't really know how to rank them. Advanced 3 is the one I played the least. Out of all these games, Advanced 3 is the one I played the least. I only played like one level of it, so I honestly don't even really know if I should rank it, but like, from the stuff I did play, it's pretty much just Advanced 1 and 2. These are good games. The physics aren't quite on par with the classics, but they're still good in their own way. So yeah, I think they're solid games. Let's see. So I think next up we got Sonic Unleashed for the Wii. So there's actually two games, and I'm going to rank both of these. So Sonic Unleashed Xbox 360. I think this is easily like probably objectively one of the best 3D Sonics. It's just so good. It's polished. It's just so good. Like, there's obviously, like, it's very polished, but there's some weird questionable design choices, like how they map the homing attack to X. I don't know why they did that, but I think that this game is so good, and this is one of those games where when it came out, the critics bashed it, and then over time the fans realized that this game actually wasn't terrible and that it's actually amazing. So I definitely agree with the perspective change. I think this game is amazing and should be regarded as such. It's a very good game. Unleashed for the Wii, however, I know a lot of people like this one as well, but I'm not so fond of this one. This is actually the one I grew up with. I didn't really play this one until I was like older, like maybe like middle school, high school-ish, but this one I played when I was like 2nd grade. I liked it when I was a kid, but growing up, Sonic Unleashed for the Wii and PS2 it's basically, it's a way different game. It's completely different than this, so they're not the same. If you want to play Unleashed and you have a Wii, you want to play this one, they're not the same game. They're two completely different games. They just kind of made the Werehog more button mashy, and the boost gameplay, while good, it's different, and I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's as good as this one. They made the boost gameplay more like a racing game. It feels more like a car racer. Like there's less enemies, and it's more about like taking good lines and stuff, and it's less of a platformer, I guess I'd say. The physics also aren't my favorite. I mean, I like the daytime stages in this game, but I don't like them as much as daytime stages in 360 Unleashed and PS3 Unleashed. But yeah, the Werehog levels are just not good in my opinion. They're not bad, but it's just kind of meh. The Werehog levels are so meh. They're like button mashy, just not fun. Whereas in this one, you have combos you can do with different inputs and stuff, and it feels like a proper beat 'em up with the Werehog. And also the physics just don't feel as good as the Wii one with the Werehog. I just think it's not a bad game. That's why I put in B tier. I think it's about the same quality as these other ones. It's just not as good as this one. Okay, next we have Sonic Rush. Actually, this came out same time as Sonic 06, so I'm ranking this out of order too, but I think I'm gonna put it like around the same as Sonic 2 just because it has its issues, but it's still amazing. I think it's definitely around this area. I'd highly recommend Sonic Rush. It's one of my favorites. Sonic Colors DS. I think since we just ranked Sonic Rush, let's go with Sonic Colors DS since it's very similar to Sonic Rush. I think it's probably about like I think I don't know, to be honest. Like, I think they took out the trick system. That's my biggest like for this game. That kind of kills the gameplay in my opinion, for me personally, but I still think, I know a lot of people love this one actually better than Sonic Rush, so I'm gonna put it like right there above Sonic Adventure 2. I think that's a solid spot for it. It's very fun, just like Sonic Rush. It's just they took out the trick system, which makes gaining boost a bit different, and it's not my favorite, but a lot of people love that version of the game. So, but yeah, that's Sonic Colors DS, not to be confused with Sonic Colors Wii, which I do think is better than the DS one. But yeah, the DS one, still a very good game, but the Wii one, I just think it's the only boost Sonic game with just Sonic, like without any other side gameplay. Like Unleashed had the Werehog and Generations had Classic Sonic. But yeah, I think it's a solid game. It focuses more on platform. I'm gonna move it above Adventure, but it focuses more on platforming than the former with Sonic Unleashed, because it came out right after Unleashed, and they wanted to, I guess since the Wii wasn't as fast, like the processor wasn't as powerful as the Xbox 360 and PS3, they had to tone down the speed. Made it more platforming heavy. In that sense, it feels almost like a true successor to the original Sonic the Hedgehog in terms of like being a platforming. It takes like the more platforming focus of the first game and makes it just so much more fun. And so I really enjoy Sonic Colors. Sonic Generations, also a S tier game. The classic Sonic in this game doesn't feel quite as good as in or it just feels different. It's not that it feels worse than the classic games, but it's different. The spin dash is almost like a 0 to 100 button, like it makes you similar to the boost. It makes you go really fast. But yeah, it basically combines both Unleashed and Colors in terms of like the boosting gameplay. Yeah, I'm not talking about classic Sonic anymore, but yeah, moving on to the modern Sonic stuff, it just feels more like a culmination of Unleashed and Colors gameplay style. That said, I feel like it doesn't pull off the raw speed that Sonic Unleashed daytime stages have, or pull off the more platformy focus of Sonic Colors like as good as the other two. It kind of mashes them together without focusing on one or the other, and I know a lot of people like Generations better than those two, but I just think those two kind of perfected the style they were going for, with Sonic Unleashed's daytime levels being super fast and Sonic Colors being platforming heavy, and Sonic Generations boost gameplay feels almost like a mix in between, but doesn't have the strong focus on either one. And I can see some people actually liking this one better than those two, but I think like if we're judging these on just like a pure gameplay standpoint, I think these games do a little bit better job at what they set out to do than this one. But not to say this game is bad at all. Not to say this game is bad at all, because it isn't. It's so good. That's why I put an S here. But it also has some weird padding, like with the missions that weren't my favorite. Like I know Unleashed had padding too, but like I thought Unleashed padding was a bit more fun because I feel like I was actually engaging with the game. But Generations, it feels like tedious, like mission type of stuff. But yeah, very good game. Sonic Lost World. So they made a very good Sonic Generations, and how do they follow that up? By making a kind of completely different style game. I think it's a solid B tier. I think it's better than Unleashed or Wii, but it's not like... I know a lot of people don't like this game at all. I don't think it's terrible. I think it's decent. I think it's good, but like it has its issues, like the difficulty curve is kind of weird, but I think it feels very polished, and is for what it set out to do, it did a pretty good job, so that's why I'm going to put it there. The parkour was pretty fun too in that game. Oh, I forgot, Sonic Secret Rings, and Sonic and the Black Knight. Secret Rings is a weird one to rank. I'm going to put it in like C tier above Knuckles Chaotix. It has its moments, but the controls are just so weird. And while I got used to them, a lot of people I know haven't. So if you can't get used to the motion controls, that kind of puts this game in C tier alone. But also, it has a lot of tedious busy work like Generations, but doesn't like mask it as good as Generations did. Like it makes you do a lot of missions similar to Generations, but like a lot more of the game is based on those missions than Generations was. Because Generations only made you do a couple of them. But yeah, so Sonic and the Secret Rings, it's just kind of... It's kind of a game that's there for a lot of people. But yeah, I think that Sonic and the Black Knight, a lot of people say that this one's actually a lot better. I think this game is actually a step down, because this game, it felt more like just running straight and shaking the remote, and it was kind of mindless. It was fun-ish, but like it was kind of mindless. The story is very good though, and the music and atmosphere is amazing. But yeah, I know a lot of people love this game, but like I just think the gameplay just was kind of repetitive and tedious. But yeah, so next up we got, I almost forgot, Sonic 4. This is gonna lump episodes 1 and 2 together. I'm gonna put this one in D tier along with Sonic and the Black Knight, just because it's not, I wouldn't say it's garbage tier, but like it's just kind of there. The physics are bad, the level design's kind of weird at some points. They kind of fixed it somewhat with episode 2, but like not really. And yeah, okay, and I almost forgot Lost World 3DS. I think that's also a D tier game. The level design was just horrendous. Like the first 2 worlds were good, but then like World 3 on up were just ugh. Like the level design was so bad, and it controls worse than the Wii U one too. It's just not a good game in my opinion. Okay, now we get to the more recent games. So we got Sonic Mania. Gotta give it to the SS tier. It's basically Sonic 3, but just again. So I don't really know how else to rank it. It's kind of, I kind of did a little bit of thinking about this tier list before I made this video, and I was thinking like, should this go above Sonic Mania, or should it go above Sonic 3 or below Sonic 3? But in the end, it's basically up to you. Like, I think that the only thing that nudges Sonic 3 ahead of Sonic Mania is that it doesn't reuse levels. That's literally the only thing I could think to give an edge over one or the other, because they're basically equal in terms of quality. I think that Sonic 3 also had a better, like, narrative. Like, it had a story. It was very, like, passive, but it was still there. So it did a little bit more than Sonic Mania in terms of, like, the extra, like, like the extra fluff of the game, if you could say. While Sonic Mania just kind of strung together a bunch of classic levels, and the story was kind of non-existent. It's just Eggman sending them to past levels. So yeah, I think that's a perfect spot. These two are, in my opinion, are the best ones, the best of the best. Sonic Forces, so they make a game as good as Sonic Mania, and how they follow it up with F tier trash. Like, okay, I'm probably wondering, why would you put Sonic Forces below Sonic 06? Like, Sonic 06 is a janky, buggy, glitchy, awful mess, and frustrating. And this game is kind of polished. Like, it doesn't break like this one does. How can it be lower? Well, the thing is, Sonic 06 is a video game, and this one just feels like a hold X to win. Like, it doesn't even feel like a game. It just feels like a movie where you're holding X, where you have to put input in the movie sometimes. Like, it's not even a game, really. And the thing is, that would be fine. I wouldn't like it, but it would be kind of acceptable if the story was good, but it wasn't really. Like, it wasn't as bad as Colors or Generations, in my opinion. But in terms of, like, it actually kind of, like, tried. And it didn't have as much, like, cheesy dialogue as those two. But, like, the thing is, Generations and Colors had good gameplay to back up the bad story. Like, it didn't matter that it had bad stories because it had the gameplay to back it up. But this game has no gameplay, has no story, and it just kind of falls flat. Like, it just, and it's not even fun to control either. Like, is holding X fun to control? Somehow they even messed that up. Like, the game just isn't fun. It's just like going straight in a straight line. It's like the most stripped away gaming experience you can kind of get, like, ever. Don't recommend that game at all. At least it's not very long, and it's not hard either, so that's, I guess, something going for it, but yeah. Okay, the newest one, Sonic Frontiers. I think this one's a solid S tier. I mean, sorry, A tier. I think that Sonic Frontiers did a lot to advance the series. I think it's definitely a step up from Sonic Forces. Not quite S or SS tier material for me. Just because it was kind of a little bit buggy, but, like, the bugs didn't, like, really detract from the experience, in my opinion. Most of the reason why I put it in A tier is just because I feel like it still has some improvement to go with this formula. I feel like it's a great starting point. The next game, easily, I think if they do it right, could be these top 2 tiers. Like, so, like, there's so much potential with this game. Very good game, potential for even more. That's all I'm gonna say about Sonic Frontiers. It's just, oh yeah, and also, I forgot to say, the story was pretty good. Like, they actually made a decent game here, guys. Like, after Sonic Forces, I kind of lost faith, but then, yeah, like, no, it's back. Like, Sonic's back, for real. And so, that's basically my Sonic tier list. I hope that if anyone new to the Sonic series is watching this video, that this gave you good insight on which games to play and which ones not to play. Basically, I would say that SS, S, and A tier are all good starting points for the series, in my opinion. I also feel like B tiers are solids that you can try if you want. But C tier is kind of like, have flaws, but also have some good aspects as well. D tier is like, you probably don't want to play these. And then F is just like, play at your own risk. But yeah, so I hope I didn't make any Sonic fans angry, because I know people are very passionate about this series. But yeah, this is kind of my trying to be objective tier list. I tried as hard as I could to make an objective tier list. I hope it was objective. I hope none of my opinions got in the way. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and tune in for the next one. I'll catch you guys later.